Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are reading some new comics for the new year. This comic called The Hunger and the Dusk came out last year, and it is by G. Willow Wilson with art by Chris Wildgoose. And you hadn't heard of this, right, John?
No, yeah, this was our Patreon poll winner. It was a nail biter. We actually had a tie, so we're doing this one this week, and then we're going to do the exclusive. Is going to be the one that won the, or that was the second runner-up on the runner-up, pardon me, on the poll.
Yeah, Dark Spaces Dungeon was the tie.
But no, I hadn't. Honestly, I don't think I had heard of any of the new ones that you that we put on the poll. But they all, like, reading through them as I was putting them up, it all sounded they all sounded fun. So I was down for any of them to win. So, but the art on this one, I definitely like catches your eye. It's really pretty.
Yeah, like that was what caught my eye. I like G. Willow Wilson as a writer generally. Even though, like, yeah, I mean, we've read stuff from her that it wasn't my favorite, but her skill as a writer was never in question. It was just like, oh, this book isn't my thing, you know?
She's one of the creators of Miss Marvel, right?
Right, and we liked that, but it wasn't like, I was like, it was fine. Just, I don't really care about the character that much. Like, her writing was good, though, so.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's kind of why I picked it up. I'm like, I like her writing. This art looks fantastic. So let me give it a try. And then I also like the title was good. Like, it's kind of mysterious. You don't know exactly what it means or anything. So yeah, but this is essentially like a fantasy comic. But to me, this is fantasy, not like Lord of the Rings or some of that other stuff in that vein. This is like if you've played Warcraft or like this really reminded me of Warcraft. I mean, straight like humans versus orcs.
Very much so. I was going to say the same thing. Like this to me felt like a little bit of D&D, and then definitely like, yeah, like going towards Warcraft with these like very like bulky human-esque orcs, and then yeah, humans.
Yeah. So, but I think that's why I liked this one a lot, because that is my jam. I fucking love Warcraft 3. When that came out, I was super into that. And then of course, World of Warcraft was my jam for a long time. So like, I eat this kind of story up if it's told well, even if it is, I think you mentioned it's a little bit like generic, I guess, or maybe like you've seen it before, like this similar thing. So it didn't make you go like, oh, wow, this is like a fully original idea. Am I right on that?
Yeah. So like, I guess I just didn't, I need more of the story because, you know, as we'll get into it, it seemed like, you know, like a main, like, yeah, there's orcs, there's humans, there's some trepidation and like long history there. Right. And then there's something else that comes along, and it definitely seemed like a by the numbers, but it doesn't mean it can't be good. Like I like several elements, like you said, as we get into it, that I enjoyed, but just the overall, like nothing felt fresh to me yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I was there for the ride. Like from the beginning, I was like, the art's fantastic, the story's fun. I don't need like, you know, I don't know how you would make like orcs and human story, you know, the most original thing ever or whatever. Anyway, so I was like, I'm on board with it from the start. And it pretty much, like I didn't have any issues pretty much with anything going on in this. So we'll get into it. So we start off with this one in this place called the Vanishing Lands, which in this world there is like orc territories and there's human territories. And I'm going to say it's kind of like climate change is happening, where over the years, the like grasslands where the humans farm and the orcs hunt, because the orcs are kind of tribal, like Native Americans more, I guess. they're vanishing, like they're getting harder and harder, and that means they're coming into conflict because there's less land that's usable. So for years, humans and orcs have been fighting, and that's kind of where we start off. We see two boys like picking apples outside of their town, and they see orcs, and they're like, "Oh my god, orcs are coming to kill us!" And there's only like 3 of them, so I don't know how much of a threat they actually are, but they run to the town, and the kids tell their old man, who's, I don't know if it's their dad or grandpa or something. I guess it's his dad, but he looks pretty old to be his dad. So his dad's working in the fields, and he's like, "Oh shit, there's orcs," and so they're getting ready. And then we cut to the orcs, and the orcs seem pretty like, yeah, they're probably going to attack these humans. They think this might be fun. And like it's a town of old people, farmers, so they're pretty sure they could take them all. And but as they're talking about how easy it is going to take them, all of a sudden one of them gets their head cut off, and then another one gets his head cut off, and then we find out that there's something worse than orcs when the humans are getting prepared for orc attack, and they see some figures coming over the hill, and then as they approach, an oxen head of the orc, because the orcs ride like these big oxens, is thrown in front of the humans, and these super tall non-orcs, they're called Vangols. They're like some other race that's like an ancient race that was more of a myth now, but for some reason they're coming back, and apparently they're like super warriors. So they basically attack the whole town and kill everybody instead of the orcs, and leave it with that. So they only leave one kid alive, I guess, to tell the story, or maybe he was just good at hiding. And so what did you think of this whole intro, John?
Yeah, it was really interesting to have these figures like, oh, who are these people that are like scarier and have apparently been gone, like they're scarier than the orcs. So yeah, like I said, that was definitely intriguing. And I had, like you said, whoever the old man was, like him having his picking up his like sickle thing and being like, "We can fight," and I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was like, I think those orcs would have killed all those people, no problem. So
yeah.
So after that, we jump to 6 months later, and we are introduced to our main character, who I believe is named Cal. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Cal is the main dark-haired human.
Yeah, and he is the leader of what is it? The Last Men Standing? Is that what they're called?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, they're like a ragtag mercenary group that will fight in battles for people, and generally they're fighting against orcs and stuff. But today they're actually going to a boundary that was an old boundary between orcs and humans, and they're meeting orcs there because there is a truce. And for some reason, the orcs have picked Cal and his men to be the caretakers of one of their people, a girl named Tara, who is, I don't know if she's is she a girl or is she like a young woman? Is she like over teens?
I mean, it seemed like there was some like undertone, so I'm going to assume that she's like younger, but not like, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how orcs age, but she's younger, but like, I think like, I don't know, like probably in the age of 8,
we'll say she's 18.
Yeah, she's 18.
She's an 18-year-old orc.
just because there does seem like there's a little bit of romance, maybe.
Sure, but you got to remember, like this comic's probably taking, like even in this comic, it's like probably a year or something, or maybe like half a year that they're together, because everybody moving around and stuff takes months, not just a page flip, so it's kind of like in Game of Thrones, whenever they would show like, oh, we're gonna send a letter to those people, and then they cut to like a raven landing in like the north, but it's like, well, how long did it take that raven to get there, and how long did it take him to get the message back, and then how long did it take them to run down, like we're talking 6 months or whatever. So yeah, I think time obviously moves fast as you flip a page, but in reality, I think the the time is going a little bit slower, which means she might be young with him by the time they're not romantic or anything in this comic. So, or in this specific volume. So, it seems like if they are seeding that, she'll probably be either of age now or will be by the time they are romantic. But he's a young guy anyway. He's supposed to be like, I assume, in his 20s. You know, he's not super old or something. So, but he's like the leader of these guys only because he has like the heart of a warrior, and that's actually why like the honorable heart of a warrior, and that's why the orcs have picked him, because the leader of these orcs, what's his name,
Throth, yeah,
Throth,
Overlord Throth.
Yeah, Throth is like the leader of these orcs. He was the ice main clan, and he has fought Cal before on the battlefield, and Cal lived, to see the next day. So he knows like the heart of this man. So he's like, that's the guy I want to protect my cousin, who we find out later Throth is actually supposed to marry until her parents were like disgraced. So she is no longer a feasible marriage option for him, because he has become the leader of the orcs. And as leader, he needs to think politically, not romantically. So even though he was kind of in love with his cousin and was supposed to marry her, he has to give her up for political reasons to this truce, and also marry someone else for political reasons. He's marrying an orc, but he's giving his cousin Tara to the humans, not as like a wife or romantic thing. It's like, what was that called? They used to do it back in the day, with kings and shit. It was like, we're trading kids, because it's like, well, if you mess with me, I'll kill your kids, and no one would dare do that. So like, it's mutually assured destruction, I guess, if you do that. It's like wards or something. They're like,
yeah, basically,
yeah. They're keeping him there as like a sign of the peace treaty, but no one's like going to kill anybody, or, if anything happens to her, obviously the treaty would be dead. So, and the humans and the orcs would go back to war. So that's what this whole like setup of this issue is these new people, the Vangols, are like, this super, evil, or not evil, like it's super bad race, I guess, that are coming to kill everybody, including the orcs and humans, and they're a bigger threat than humans and orcs against themselves, and possibly maybe not as big as the global warming issue or whatever, the climate change issue. But if these Vangols kill all of them, then it won't matter that the climate change is not going to be an issue either. So I guess they want to figure out the Vangols first, and then deal with the climate change. Maybe they can figure something out. So that's the setup. Is this whole ceremony's happening. Cal and Tara are like told, this is the peace treaty, take care of her. But then as this treaty's happening, and keep in mind, this is like far inland, they have scouts and stuff. They are attacked by the Vangols, and everybody's like, how the hell did they get this far in without us seeing them? Because apparently I think the Vangols are like a ship faring people. So they're mostly like coastal or something. So they should only be on the coast.
And what I should say, like the Vangols themselves, like they seem like they're all almost twice as tall as
everybody.
them. Yeah, as everybody. Like they're very like gauntly, and they're very creepy looking.
Yeah, they're lanky. They got like a Slender Man vibe.
Yeah,
they're like orcs, but they're paler. They're not green. They're like tan, like a pale tan, like a sickly tan, I'll call it. And then but they're super gaunt. They got Slender Man arms and legs. They're super long, and they look formidable too. They move very fast. They're very effective warriors because of their height and everything, I think. So, but there's a big fight, and like Tara at first was not happy to be part of this, pawn in this treaty, right? But in this fight, she's about to be killed, and Cal actually saves her, but he takes a sword hit to his back. But it turns out that Tara is a healer, and that's like her thing. So she's actually like kind of a magical healer. And I guess humans don't really have magical healers. So when she does some magic and heals Cal's back immediately in the fight, he's like, "What the hell? How'd you do that?" And she's like, I'm a magic healer." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So he knows what it is, but I guess he's never really seen it in person or had it done to him. So from that, they're okay with each other now because he saved her life, she healed him, bond created. So that's the end of issue 1. Then the second issue is fun because like it's Tara, with this band of mercenaries, and they're like just like all bands. This is the D&D part where you get like there's a bard, there's like a tough woman mercenary, there's the tracker, the drunken warrior rogue guy, So yeah, it's a good mix of people. What do you think of all this whole group?
Oh yeah, it was very fun. I like that everybody basically rides on like these ox and goat creatures. I thought that was kind of fun. Like they're like larger beasts of burden. and and yeah, like the whole group is fun. Like, again, they have these little archetypes of the kind of group that you kind of see mixed up with people, and they all have their own little quirks about them. I would just say the bard was probably my favorite part of it, because they're like, yeah, he's useless and he just sings, and then like the whole time he's like, oh, we're gonna have an orc with us. Like, I only know songs that are that
Slay
make
the
fun
orc,
of
kill the orc.
exactly that make fun of or are terrible about orcs. Like, I'm gonna have to learn or write all new songs. What am I gonna do? I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a good point. I thought that was like a fun thing too. And also, like, a lot of this story is told from his point of view. Like, he's the narrator because he's the bard. So whenever there is narration, it's him, like usually his outlook on what's going on and what's happening in the journey. So like that's his part of this comic, is kind of like the voice for us to follow. But yeah, then we cut to the orcs, specifically Throth, who is in the process of being married. Apparently, in their culture, him and his wife to be go on like a marriage hunt together, and if they're supposed to bring, each of them are supposed to kill something and bring it back as like a sign that the gods have blessed their marriage. So they're hunting wolves, I guess. So some wolves fall upon them and they do kill them. And it's cool because one thing I like about this, and this is like a more modern thing that happens, it's not just Throth that's a badass. It's like his new wife, she saves him in one part too. Like he's killing a wolf and the second one comes out of nowhere and he thinks he's about to get killed. And then she ends up stabbing that with an axe or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay. Like she ends up saving him a little bit, and so I think that's fun. Like, you kind of show not only in this culture, the women are also warriors, kind of thing. So
yeah, and I liked his embrace of her after that, because he's kind of stunned and looking, and then she's like, oh, like, everything good? Like, I know I kind of like, that one's really bloody now, but like, and he's, he was like, oh, and he like hugs her. And I was like, it was a fun little moment too.
Yeah. Also, that kind of suggests that maybe, the orcs aren't like a monolith of culture. Like maybe his clan of orcs maybe the women are more like traditional roles or something. And so like the fact that she's like, no, I killed this thing too, is like, so kind of surprising, but also like, oh, that's awesome. And then also, like, I guess it means, they both probably believe that if they both killed the wolves, then that means like the gods, this is meant to be, like it's predestined or whatever, or it's smiled upon, favored. So, yeah, I mean, that's like reading into it, but I don't know. Did you feel any of that possibly?
Yeah, because they both, even he seemed startled, but I think that, yeah, it was also like that, like you said, like it definitely felt like, oh, okay, like this is gonna be like good fortune on this union going together too. So I think I think I picked that up on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like implied, or maybe even just I'm putting that in there, but yeah, there's some like subtext there, I think. So then we cut back to Cal and Tara, and they're kind of scouting ahead, and they find the ships, on the coast where these Vangols are, I guess, landing. But then one of their soldiers comes up behind them and says, "Hey, we're under attack back at camp. They already like passed you guys." And Cal's like, "That's impossible. Like we just saw them and they were at the beach." And but so they're like, how can they be moving so fast and no one's seeing them? So that's kind of like the mystery in this arc, is like the Vangles are here, and not only are they badass, but they've been able to move inland quickly. Something's going on. It doesn't make any sense. And so like that's the mystery where they're trying to figure out this whole volume. And so when Cal and his men get back to camp, the Vangles are pretty much there at the same time, and they have this big battle. I don't know about you, but I thought the battles were pretty freaking awesomely drawn in this. They were just very, like, it's bloody, but it's not. It doesn't hold back, but it's also not like excessively bloody. Like there's no like literal gore. It's just kind of blood. But you don't see like intestines or something, like. So I think it's like a good mix of violence, but not so much that like your mom wouldn't let you read it if you were a kid or something. Like what do you think about the battle scenes?
Oh yeah, no, they were pretty badass, and like the all the like the movements around, and like you said, the blood, like there's no like you said, guts everywhere. There's just like blood stained things, or like a little bit of blood squirting out here or there.
I would say more than a little bit. There's like swaths of blood coming out of people. So
I was gonna say the pools of blood in particular I liked, because they kind of like gleamed and were very shiny on the pages compared to Elite. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think the coloring really makes the art pop in this. Both the artist and the colorist did a really good job with everything.
Very much so. And I will say I was surprised that like at the beginning of this issue, we learned the name of all of the group members. Or I know we didn't say, but like, they introduced them all. And one of them actually dies right here. And I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because Tara's like, I tried to save her, because specifically the one that died, she's like the tough, warrior woman. And maybe like a rogue. I think she's got like, kind of short swords that she fights with. And she was supposed to protect Tara because Tara is just a healer, and she's also like very important to not have die. So they're like, you stay with her. She's a great warrior. She'll protect you. And then that woman gets basically disemboweled. We don't, like I said, we don't see intestines and stuff, but there's a lot of blood, and we see a cut wound in her stomach. And then Tara's like very traumatized because she didn't get to her in time before Tara was too far gone to heal. Basically, she can heal as long as your body can heal. So like if you have enough blood to heal, or before you've lost enough blood to die, she can heal you. But if you're already too far gone, she can't make the blood go back in your body, kind of thing. So Tara can't save her, and Cal is very much like upset, not at Tara, but just in the whole situation. Like, oh man, like one of my people died that was like really close to us. And so there's a whole thing. There's some like drama there, where like Tara is like, I don't know what to do. I think he blames me for it, and she's talking to some of the other guys in the group, and they're like, no, he's fine. He's just sad because he lost a fight, a fellow brother or whatever, or a fighter. So yeah, like there's a little bit of drama, because it's like, oh, maybe he doesn't like me anymore and I should leave or something. But yeah, so then we cut back to the orcs, and they're dealing with the same thing with the Vangles, more battles and stuff. They're like, how are they this far? I think north is there's like, I don't know all the areas. I guess they're north because the humans are south. So
yeah, and there's snow in the area there, because we used to say the wolves they were fighting, they're like snow wolves or something, because they were all white, and they were in obviously a very cold area.
Well, there's snow in South areas too, John.
That's true, but
The South Pole. That's in the
yes,
South.
I think that was implied because I think they were saying like I think they were saying before that they were in the north. So
Yeah. So once again, they're like, how are Vangols this far north and stuff? So they're also kind of confused by this. And, but yeah, we do get like a moment where, I guess Cal, is told by the guy that Tara was talking to about her feeling like maybe Cal blames her for the death of that member of the group. And, so that guy tells Cal, hey, she's kind of like, thinks you are upset at her. So Cal goes to talk to her. And this is like kind of one of the only moments where you think maybe something's going to happen romantically between them. He never really like shows interest in that way. But like she's in her tent. He goes to lay in the tent with her next to her to tell her like, hey, like it's fine. I'm just sad about this. It wasn't your fault. And then they fall asleep. And then when he wakes up, she's kind of like cuddled up next to him. And then when he leaves the tent in the morning, he's woken up by his men who are like, Cal, where are you? And then he comes out of her tent, but he's kind of like, it looks kind of odd, him leaving her tent in the morning or whatever. So that's only like, maybe there's like a romantic thing there, but I didn't really get too much romance. Did you pick up on more than I did?
no, I don't think. I think you nailed it. I think it's that it implied that maybe there's a little something that might come from that, because I know that they're warriors or whatnot or whatever, and it could have been cold a little too for it's nighttime, but it just there, she cuddled up to him, and then he was kind of awkward leaving in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the cold with a buddy, you're gonna snuggle, So yeah, the reason why his men called him out is because of the Vangols that they fought the other day, one of them lived, and it's like a scout, and so it's still like in the woods, and they saw it, and so they're like, okay, we should like follow it back to its camp because it, well, at first they're like, get him before it goes back to its camp, and then they shoot it with an arrow, they wound it, and then they like let it go, and then they're like, follow it to its camp. So they send their tracker guy to follow this Vangol, and so that way they can see like how are they. Where's their main camp and how are they getting there? And I think by now have they figured out that it's oh no, they questioned this one. That's how they figured out. They questioned this Vangol who speaks like old English basically, but for orcs, so old orcish. And so Tara is able to talk to him kind of. Now I'm gonna ask you this, John. I thought this was really cool, but could you figure out what he was saying just by like reading what he was saying?
Yes, I think my brain was able to still piece together what he was saying, like because there was enough like context clues with the way things were put together.
Yeah, I think the way that she wrote this language was very like, it looks, if you just look at it, you're like, I don't know what they're saying. But then if you try to like read it, it actually makes sense. And so I was like, oh, I can like follow this language. I thought it was very cleverly written, which is not an easy thing to do, to where it looks foreign, but it also is readable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So they basically find out that there's some like the in this land there was dwarves at one time, and the dwarves made tunnels everywhere, but they have died off like thousands of years ago. So, but their tunnels are still there. So basically, these Vangols found some dwarven tunnels. That's how they're getting everywhere, but they don't know where the entrance is to this cave. So. Yeah, so they let the Vangol go, and then they're like, okay, main tracker, follow him, and he will lead you back, and then you tell us where he is. So that's like the plan. But before that happens, before they do that following, we cut back to Throth and his new bride, and they are like, they're like, finally, we can have some alone time and I guess consummate this marriage. I don't know if they've had sex yet or not, but it seems like this is like the first time to me. I don't know about, do you think that?
Yeah, it definitely, it seemed like maybe they're like their first alone time together for real.
Yeah, and I only say that because like they're like getting hot and heavy. He's taking off his clothes, she's taking off her clothes already, and as you know, it's about to happen. All of a sudden, a guy comes in and is like, "Sire, I need your help," or whatever, like, and like interrupts him. And basically, it's because um, they they're like the humans, Cal, have sent a rider to tell them immediately that the Vangols are getting in so far north because they have these dwarven caves, and that was like a very important piece of intel. So they sent this rider, and he just rode his horse or his mount almost to death to get there in time. So yes, he interrupted the snoo time, but you know it was for a good reason, I guess. But Throth was happy for it, but he was also like, man, me and my wife are about to get busy. So yeah. Anyway, so we leave it. We leave that issue with the tracker, whose name Michael, or Michael. I'm gonna say Michael.
I see. I assume it was Michael, just in a.
It's a different version of Michael. Yeah, Mikil. Yeah. So Mike Ill, but that would be your rapper name if your name was Mike. You could be like, I'm Mike Ill.
Mike Ill.
But so anyway, we start the next issue with Michael's been following this Vangol, and I don't know about you, but I was like, dude, Michael needs to back off. He's like 20 feet from this thing, and like obviously the thing knows he's being tracked.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was pretty darn close. So like, unless he's that good at like being stealthy,
and Vangols have like no like perception behind them. Like they're not able to hear noises or anything, or like maybe someone's following them. They never turn around. I don't know, but yeah. So he's leaving little signs as he's going so that they can track him. But it's been quite a while. It's been a couple days since they let Michael go and follow, but they were expecting him back sooner. But you know, he's still out, so they're like, okay, well, he's a good tracker, so he's probably okay. Then we cut to the orcs again, and Throth is meeting with all the other orc clan heads, one of whom is his new wife's father. And it turns out that all those orcs do not like this whole treaty thing. They're like, humans suck, orcs rule. Why the fuck are we in a truce with them? We should just kill them and the Vangols and take the land for ourselves because we need land. So I liked this a lot. I don't know about you, but I liked the idea that the orcs aren't like a monolith. It's not just like all orcs are good or all orcs are bad. It's like some orcs want this and some orcs want that, and they're different tribes and stuff. What do you think of that?
Yeah, very much so. I think this is one of the aspects of like it kind of going outside of what I assumed would having the different orcs be like, oh no, like, yeah, like you said, like, fuck all humans. Like, why would we ever do a truce with them? We've been at war with them for hundreds of years. So like, screw this. Now that we have, like, let's use this to our advantage now. Like, now that we have their trust, then like, let's fucking kill them.
Yeah, like it's perfect time to do it when they're not expecting an attack from orcs, and they're trying to fight off Vandals. It's a good time to fight the humans. But basically, this whole thing gets shut down because Throth's wife, the daughter of one of these unhappy orc chieftains, basically says like, no, you guys are all wrong. Throth is awesome. He's my new husband. I stand by him. Like, here's everything that we're doing, and this is what we found out so far, and the humans are great. They told us about these dwarven caves, and that gives us so much more information that we didn't have before about the Vangols. And so, yeah, basically the orc head person, I don't know, the head chief of all the clans, she's like, yes, I agree with this woman. Human alliance is good. Everybody else shut the fuck up. And so basically the dad of her is very angry. He's like, what the fuck? He goes off mad and he's like, she's made her choice. So I think that will, like, I'm assuming that's like planting something for future volumes of this, which
Yeah, I assume that there will be some orcs that try to fuck things up later on.
yeah. Then we cut to Michael. He is still following that Vangol, but as he gets to some tracks, he's like, wait, what? They like double back or something. And then he gets hit in the head. Turned out the Vangol knew he was there the whole time. And then instead of killing him, the Vangol knocks him out and takes him back to one of these dwarven entrances because he knows, like, okay, the humans are obviously aware of everything that's kind of going on. And, and this was the one that told him about the dwarven caves. And so he's like, okay, they're going to try to find them. They could track their friend here. We might as well set a trap at one of these entrances. So that's basically what happens. I should mention before that.
I was wondering if you were going to skip over.
Oh, I'm not skipping over this. Right. So before that, we cut back to, after the dad of Throth's wife is like, she made her fucking choice. Well, yes, she did, because she wants that Throth D. And so we finally get Throth and her making loves.
And Throth is so turned on. He's like, hell yeah, you stood up for me.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
You get to see some orc boobies in this, which I was like not expecting.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised. I was like, oh, wow,
full nips, full orc nips. I was like, wow. That's what I like about this, though. It's like PG-13. It's like a good mix of violence and sex stuff or whatever whenever it happens. It's not gratuitous, but it's there.
Yeah.
And it's,
you know what's going on. They take their clothes off, and there's some little bit of nudity, a little bit of movement. You get what's going on.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it's not like full kid. I don't like it when, like, this is obviously a violent comic. There's, stuff like that in it. And if they like in Conan or something, it's like, just show it or whatever, like you have to go crazy, but like, this is all barbarians and shit. Show his bare chest, show her boobies. That's what it's for, right? That's what this genre is. So, yeah, I thought it was fun. But yeah, I definitely wasn't going to blaze over that, as you said. So, but yeah, so it turns out, there's like, we cut back to Michael, and he gets brought before this like giant Vangol who's like the leader. And, like I said, they're basically planning on using Michael as bait to set a trap. So I don't know if they know this. I can't remember if they did or not. But because Tara has healed everybody by now, like little things too. Like people were like, oh, my toe hurts. And she's like, fine, I'll heal you. Once she heals you with magic, she kind of has a tie to your life force. Like she can tell if you're alive or not. And so she knows that Michael's still alive, even though he hasn't returned. And that's because the Vangols are keeping him alive. So obviously the humans know he should have been back by now if he wasn't captured, but you're saying he's still alive. So trap, right? Like we all know it's a trap. So they follow knowing it's a trap. But I thought this was fun. I was like, there's no strategy involved here. Cal's like, look, we see them. There's not really a bet. Like their trap is really good. Like we're not going to be able to sneak around it or anything. So like we might as well just go like full on in there, and I'll just run in, cut Michael free, grab him, and hopefully we don't get shot by arrows. So like that's what he does. He just like straight up takes Tara there.
Leroy Jenkins it.
Yeah, exactly. He takes Tara with him because he's like, you could heal him, right as we're running and shit. So they do that, and luckily it does pretty much work. Like, I mean, there's a big battle, but like it seems like the Vangols did not expect the humans to attack full front. They just thought they're going to do some kind of sneaky thing or something. But we get some pretty awesome battles once again. We see a lot of Vangol deaths this time. I think the humans get like one over on them until like the head one comes out, and the head one has this really cool like sword spear. It looks like a spear, but it also has like a giant like cloud strife blade from like Final Fantasy VII on the end of it. So it's a pretty cool weapon. I thought it was a good like design. I mean, it would be whole super heavy and unwieldy, but it was pretty cool.
I like his helmet too. It's got some like really big like inward facing horns that are like gold on it.
Yeah, and it has like tusks hanging off of it and stuff too, which is cool. But yeah, the design of everything in this was really good. Now, I don't know what exactly happens. It looks like, our main man Cal is gonna die because just this Vangol leader is super OP. He has this awesome weapon. It's looking pretty bad for Cal. But Tara does some kind of magic. We don't know exactly what it is, but she makes it basically like pulls a Raiders of the Lost Ark and melts this dude's face off. Like where it looks like his soul was being burnt out of its body. And so, she does some magic. His smoke and stuff starts coming out of his eyes and mouth, and then he falls down dead. But he's like, I will be back, basically, is kind of what he says. We will meet again, you last men standing. Like, so, yeah, apparently he's not dead, or at least they imply that. But as of right now, his body's dead in front of them. So everybody's very happy about that. Now, I guess... like there wasn't really like once again there's not too much sexual tension between Cal and Tara, but she does see him with like his shirt off. I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of shots of him with his shirt off and his abs are there, but she's mad at him at this moment. Why is she mad at him? I can't remember why she gets mad at him.
Basically because he's saying that like now they have to like keep moving on, like because they there's probably not all of them, and she's like, we should take time to like rest and heal. I mean, like we don't have we keep moving around, and like every night we can't like we don't ever stay in the same place.
Yeah. And because like she is kind of a high member of society in the orcs, so she's used to like fancy tents, kind of being waited on a little bit, and taken care of, like big meals and things like that. But with these guys, it's like, campfire, you're cooking something over it yourself. There's barely any kind of supplies and stuff, no bathroom, that kind of thing. So she's kind of upset about that too. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, this is what we do. So they get into a fight, and basically she is so unhappy with all of this stuff, and they start going in at each other, like kind of like in a marriage or a relationship where the little things have built up to where you were holding them in because they're just little things, but when you have a fight, they all come out, and you basically like yell them at each other.
And then they also bring up like they also get into like just past history of like orcs and humans.
Well, that's what I mean. There's that too. There was, she's like, well, this will never work. We've hated each other forever, and like your people are encroaching on our hunting lands, and he's like, well, your people are burning our farms and stuff. And so yeah, there's just like the orcs versus humans aspect of it. But yeah, so. But earlier when they were kind of talking and bonding and getting to know each other, he had told her like, oh, I'm a bastard child. Like I was born, which is why his name is like, was it Battle Born or something like that? I think that's what it's called.
That's I think like his actual name is,
his last name is Battleborn because it's a bastard name. Just like Jon Snow. Obviously Snow just means like, oh, you're North. You're a North person and you're a bastard, so you get the name Snow. So yeah, she kind of rubs that in his face. She's like, you're some fucking bastard son of an illiterate raider, because also he can't read. And so he's just like, wow. He just kind of like shuts down, and she's like realizes that she fucked up, and he's like, all right, fuck it then. If you want to leave, you can leave. I'm not going to stop you. And that's not the right move, obviously, because if she leaves and goes back, the orcs are going to be like, what the fuck? Also, like, she's going to go back on her own through like dangerous lands. And so, yeah, she just like they can't figure it out. They can't solve, or they can't come to terms. So she does leave. She goes on her own back to the north, and this was like, I thought this issue was interesting because I was like, where's it gonna go? And so we get a little bit of history between like her and Throth, and like we see her before her parents were dishonored, and when she was a little kid, and Throth is like a young boy, and they already know they're gonna get married. It's like they have what is that called?
They've been betrothed, basically.
Right, but what's it called in like Indian culture, where it's like you have planned marriages or whatever?
Oh yeah, arranged
Marriage. There you go. So like basically they had an arranged marriage to be like, okay, if you marry him, it'll like bring our clans together and it'll be good for both of our families. And then once her parents were like dishonored, they did something against the clan. I don't remember what it was. You remember what it was?
No, I was trying to remember specifically.
It was something like, it wasn't that big of a deal, like to me at least. It was like, oh, they misjudged something or whatever, and then they died, or like I can't remember exactly what it was, but like but either way, they did something wrong. It made everybody be like, oh, your family sucks, and also they're dead, so like no one wants to marry you, even though you're like the last person left of your family, and they were nobles or whatever. And so yeah, that's like, we get the history of them. So she's kind of thinking about that, I guess, as she's going through these lands. It's specific lands that they were in when they were kids. And so she's kind of having, flashbacks of that stuff. And we do get to see her being kind of a badass. Like there's like these giant rat monsters that try to attack her, and she kills them with some throwing knives. And then at night, when she's like she's camped out in in like an abandoned house that's like falling apart, and some men come upon her, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's an orc woman. I've always wanted me an orc woman. I wonder if it's true what they say. Like it was very like 1930s like movie where they like a white guy and his friend like come upon someone from a different race, and they have all these weird racial like hearsay stereotypes that don't make any sense in reality. Yeah. But they're like, I heard these orc women like dance for you, and then they drive you crazy before they have sex with you, like all this weird stuff. They're just making shit up, and they're like talking about like, you can't get an orc pregnant. It'll be like, it's like a mule. It'll be a sterile child, and all this kind of stuff. So, I thought that was interesting. I liked the like weird racist lore of that these guys gave. Did you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was interesting. Like, yeah, that there's like this, like you said, like this culture of, especially I guess people that like have never interacted, they're just like, oh, like I heard, like such and such. Well, I heard, so that is a interesting back and forth to have, even in this this super not supernatural, but well, yeah, supernatural world.
Yeah, I mean, she's got magic or whatever, right? So but yeah, so they're talking so much about like how different orc ladies are than women that are humans. Like she wakes up and hears them, and she pulls out one of her throwing knives. She's able to throw one before they do anything, and it cuts one of them. And then there's kind of this fight. We get to see her fight two guys. She can hold her own pretty good. She does get like cuts eventually, and like it looks like she might lose an arm. It actually like is a pretty severe cut she gets in her arm. Looks like it might like fall off or something, but she does her magic that she did on the Vangol leader, and like their fucking souls or whatever like gets sucked out of them into her, is what I took from that. And then she heals immediately. So it's like she can take life to heal herself, which is a pretty sick power, especially in a battle when you're like, if you're fighting bad guys, you're just like, die, and then you heal.
Yeah, and then you're better. Like, well, oh, that was nice.
yeah. So it's pretty sick power. But so yeah, we get like another flashback after that moment where we see the exact moment that Throth was like, I can't marry you. I want to. I love you. I've been in love with you since I was a kid and we had the arranged marriage thing, but now that your parents have been dishonored, you know, that's not an option anymore because now I am like the head of the ice main clan, and also like that's over a bunch of other clans, and so I have to marry someone for political reasons, not someone I love. So yeah, that's why he couldn't be with her. She's all torn up about that. But as she's riding, she sees Vangols in the distance. And then one thing I like, okay, there's a lot of, they don't talk about this, but there's obviously a lot of cool lore. Like they drop names like dwarves and elves, and you're kind of like, what is this? What happened before? Why aren't those races anymore? What happened to the elves and the dwarves? We see the Vangols, and they're ancient, so maybe the dwarves and stuff are also alive. And then also, as she's riding, she sees this giant set of bones, like dinosaur bones or dragon bones, basically, on a hill. And then in the teeth of this giant, skeleton, she sees Vangols, and then so she follows them. They crest the hill, go down. She goes to the top of the hill, and she sees a whole bunch of Vangols ready, getting ready to do something. We don't know what exactly, but there's a bunch of them. So, and that's where this comic ends.
To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued. It leaves it on a cliffhanger. Volume 2 has started coming out. I think it's on issue 5 right now, or 4. So yeah, I'm collecting that in issue form. So,
oh, nice.
But yeah, that is how this series, this volume ends. And yeah, so John, what would you give it, and what did you think?
Yeah, so like I said, there were some elements that I did enjoy, like the olden creatures. The Vangol was pretty cool. I like that brought like, okay, the orcs and humans need to have a truce. It seemed, like I said, a little more of, I guess I'm pickier with my some of my sci-fi and fantasy, and I was like, nah, like it's a orc human story. I don't know. It didn't resonate with me as much. I definitely still, like I said, there were characters I liked in it. Like I definitely liked Tara. I think she's a unique character because it's also cool to see a character that normally, at least in my mind, I would assume an orc would just be like a grappler fighter or like an archer, like a sneaky character, to have magic. That was kind of cool. I would definitely like to know a little bit more about her and like what that power is that she, like you said, where she's basically like taking the bad guys, whoever's fighting, or the evil person's like soul out of them, and like then she's healing. Like that was definitely like pretty wild. And the art is really, really nice in this. It's like you said, there are some panels in particular. Like, there's one when they've captured Michael and he's hanging upside down. They have the art upside down. Like obviously I'm sure it was drawn the regular way, but the way that they did it on the page is really cool. They have the art upside down of the leader of the Vangols talking to him. And I thought that was like, and the words are the right way, because he's hearing, obviously. But I thought that was really done really well on the page. It was really cool. And then all of the battle scenes, all of the different panels across the page, the swipes, the different angles and stuff. It was all really, really cool. And the coloring in this is really beautiful. Especially the like sunrise, sunset times, the color gradient across the pages was really, really nice. So yeah, like, I don't know, just the story itself, like, I guess I really would need to read more, because of the intro didn't wow me. Like I definitely I guess I want to know more, but like I wish that this would have been, I guess, like a little bit meatier for me to like really get me into the story. Because like had this not one, I don't know if would have been one that I would have grabbed. And now I'm reading it, like, I don't know, I might go back to it, but I don't know if it's one that I'll like I said, if you're reading it, maybe if you tell me like, oh no, it gets really good, maybe I go back and check it out. But I think the art is really good. The story is solid. It's just not wasn't as gripping to me. So I would probably give this one I'd probably say like a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 7.5. Like I said, I like that orc human story stuff more than you, even though it's basic. I think there was a lot of subtle lore in this book that was just in the background and the arts and just like little words dropped every now and then, like I said, with elves and orcs or elves and elves and dwarves. God damn. I don't know why that was so hard to say. And so that kind of thing. It's just there is a deep history in this land that they mention every now and then, but they never go into. And I really hope it goes into that. And then also like the just the art is so amazing in this. I'm like, I really want like an oversized hardcover of this with like glossy pages and stuff because it will look fantastic in that format. And it's very well done. So I was fully on board with this. I was liking all the characters. I like that they are almost like, okay, I know who Cal is. I know who Tara is. But then there's stuff about them that are slightly different than the traditional version of that character, you know? So that is intriguing to me. It is subtle, but it's not like we're breaking all the boundaries. It's like, no, it is the character, but they are a little bit different than what's normally there. And so I liked that about it. I think, I liked it a lot. I think I read like the first issue so far of volume 2, but I'm waiting till they're all collected to read them all at once. Cause it's kind of an easier story to read all at once. And so, I liked it a lot. I think it is, especially for the art and everything, really good. But I think the story is like a slow burn building to like kind of an epic fantasy that is a lot like it has a Warcraft feel, which is right up my alley. So, but I get what you're saying. Like, definitely, it is more basic, or it feels like that initially. But I think there's more hidden under this. It's a diamond in the rough right now. But maybe we'll find out if it pays off. But like, I'm thinking it's going to pay off because I like her writing. I think she does a good job with like Poison Ivy and stuff. That's one of my favorite DC comics right now. So she's just a solid writer. So I can't imagine she's just like, oh yeah, I want to write like a basic orc human story. Like there's got to be something there.
And you're probably right because like I'm thinking on like again, like I'm picky with my sci-fi and my my fantasy titles, and like I have the ones that I'll go back to, and it takes me a while to like if I'm gonna like again like Game of Thrones I didn't like at first, and then I finally got into it. I was like, okay, like I like
you're
this.
wrong about that one.
I don't know, it didn't catch me right away at first either. And then again, that may be because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I was like, I already have like a fantasy that I like. Like, I don't.
Yeah, but you like the Hobbit movie, so that disqualifies you from.
It does not.
It does. The movie's garbage.
The first one is wonderful, and then the other two should not have been two.
All three of them suck.
There are things in them that I do like, but anyway.
Sure, all the stuff that's from the books that should have continued in the movies, but. They decided to add a bunch of stupid shit.
Anyway, we're talking about the Hunger and Darkness. Mister, I only know 3 Indiana Jones films when there are 5, and especially the last one was actually really good.
That also disqualifies you right now. What you just said disqualifies you from ever having an opinion about sci-fi, adventure, anything.
No.
Yep.
Anyway, so Matt gives it a 7.5. I gave it a 6.5. And next week for our Patreon exclusive, we're going to be doing the runner-up from our poll, Dark Spaces Dungeon by Scott Snyder and Hayden Sherman.
Yeah, I heard good things about this. Apparently you read it already, John. You son of a bitch. You're getting early on me. So I got to read it this week. But I've heard good things. I heard it was creepy and fun. I really liked this is like a Tales from the Crypt or a Twilight Zone series where it's kind of like the name of the series is Dark Dungeon, and then different writers and artists get to do a story arc in it. So There was one called Wildfire that Scott Snyder wrote. That was the first one. Then there was one called The Hollywood Special, which was by different people. And then Scott Snyder returned with this dark dungeon, dungeon, little story arc. So I'm excited to read that. And yeah. But speaking of patrons, we should thank our patrons: Hoku, Otaku, Mike, Christian, Kyla, Joseph, Matthew, Kalia, Kevin, James, and Craig. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it so much. And thank you for voting. I think we got the most votes we've ever had on a poll this time, which was fun to see. People are taking advantage of that. And so, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. If you guys would like to be a patron and join in on the voting and get the exclusive episodes, you can do so at Planes, Trains, and Comic Books / I'm sorry. I did that completely wrong. It is patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. I was going to do it the other way. I was going to do Planes, Trains, and Comic Books /Patreon. So
Patreon.
Yeah.
It's patreon.com, Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word. And and we should say that Matt just brought back, he's a perfectionist, and he wanted to redo his Swamp Things now that he's been dove so far into Hellblazer, and doing all of his characters and all the voices.
Yeah, I'm doing like narrations now. Different format. My format has evolved from the beginning of Swamp Thing that I recorded 5 years ago. So I'm re-recording all of it because I can't live with my stupid comments and
his us.
Yeah, the us and the mouth noises and all that shit. So I'm redoing them. Damn it, we're doing it live.
But that being said, that any form of our Patreon that you sign for, if you sign for the free version, or if you want to be so gracious and donate to our, keeping our back catalog going and everything like that, we appreciate it. But all tiers of our Patreon get Matt's The Sagas of Swamp Thing absolutely free. So definitely take advantage.
Yeah, that's going to run. I'm going to put it out as its own podcast. But you're going to be on the Patreon. You're going to be about 20 episodes or 25 episodes ahead of when I release it on its own little podcast feed. So you get it early, because you're helping us out. You're being members, and we appreciate that. So once again, patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word. And with that, I think we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.